I'm going to show you 5 ways to preserve your basil harvest. Stick around to the end. I have a bonus for you. This is what I harvested today, and it's only half of what I have in the garden. Now it all starts with cutting your basil. So you need to identify the leaf nodes on your basil plant. These are the sets of leaves at the base of a stem. Once you've identified these leaf nodes, you need to snip the stem just above the node. Now this is a critically important step if you want your basil plant to continue growing and getting bushier. Check out my video on how to grow big bushy basil. Now that you have your basil harvested, the easiest way to get the leaves off the stem is just to run your finger down the stem. That'll remove all the leaves. You can pinch off anything that's left. I'm going to give this a really good rinse and run it through the spinner so it's thoroughly dry. Now the easiest way to preserve your basil is to take a cutting. And you want to put this in cold water and put it in front of a sunny windowsill. You want to change out your water every 2 to 3 days. That is a very important step. Once you see some roots forming, you will repot this in some soil, and then you'll put it back in a sunny windowsill. You can even put it under some grow lights, and then you'll be picking fresh basil all winter long. Now the next method, super easy, freezing with olive oil. So I'm just going to gather this up and put it in a bowl, and then I'm going to cover it with some olive oil. You can accomplish this same thing if you cut this up into some ice cube trays and top it with some olive oil. The only difference between these two methods is there's less oil being used here. Now you want to just make sure that both sides of the basil are coated with olive oil, and then you're going to be putting this into a quart size Ziploc freezer bag. Now once it's frozen, you just break off whatever you need for cooking. Just gently press out the air and seal it shut, place it in your freezer, and then you'll have basil available to you for months. Now this method is a homesteading method. You're going to put either kosher salt or sea salt at the bottom of a mason jar. It doesn't matter what size you're using. This is a shallow one. And you're going to layer salt and basil, and you're going to continue with those layers until your final layer is salt. The salt will help to draw out moisture from the basil, which will preserve it. It will also help to inhibit any type of bacterial growth. And then as an added bonus, you get basil flavored salt. You're going to put a tight fitting lid on top of this and then put it in the refrigerator. The refrigeration process will help to also further delay the aging of the basil. And then when you need basil as fresh as you could possibly get it, then you can just go in and pick whatever amount of leaves you need. I would put this on a caprese salad. Now this next method is just making an herb salt. So I have my fresh picked basil, and I picked a bunch of other herbs as well. I have oregano and sage, a great garden companion. I have so much mint, I thought that would be a good addition, and I have fresh parsley. Throw this all into your bowl and zest 1 lemon, add in 1 cup of kosher salt. You can also use sea salt for this, and then you're going to run it through your food processor. Now you can see this is a nice bright green. However, it's full of moisture. We want to get that out. So you're going to put this in a thin layer on a cookie sheet, and then you're going to put it in a 175-degree oven for 2 hours. This is what it looks like when it's done. You want to put this into a mason jar, store it in your pantry. I like to use it as a finishing salt. The next method is pesto. Pesto is one of my favorite things in the whole world. You have your basil. I'm adding a cup of walnuts. You can also use pinoli nuts or pine nuts. It's the traditional nut to use in pesto. I'm also zesting 1 lemon, a teaspoon of kosher salt, cracked pepper, 3 to 4 garlic cloves, and then drizzle your olive oil over the top. You're not going to want to put too much. Run it through the food processor once. Check the consistency. You can always add more later. Your consistency should be that of a paste. You do not want it to be runny and soupy. This is perfect. Now you're going to scoop it into ice cube trays. So just put spoonfuls into the tray, and you'll come back and top it off if you have more in your bowl. You just want to make sure that they're full, and then pop them into the freezer. Now once it's done, you'll see you have perfectly portioned individual pesto ice cubes. I'd say 1 to 2 per person. Throw them in the warm pasta, they'll melt, and that's when you add your grated cheese. Don't add your cheese before freezing. These are delicious. Now we're moving on to our pièce de résistance, our bonus. basil gin cocktail. I'm using Bar Hill gin. This has really nice honey notes to it. I'm doing 3 ounces of gin and 3 ounces of fresh squeezed pink grapefruit juice. Now don't skimp on this part. Fresh squeezed is the way to go. Now if you like it a little less boozy, you can do 2 ounces of gin and 2 ounces of juice. I'm also going to put the juice of half a lime, and then I'm going to throw my basil into the shaker. You're going to squeeze about a teaspoon of agave. You can also use simple syrup. Simple syrup is just basically equal parts sugar and water. Add your ice to the shaker and give this a vigorous 15-second shake. Shaking helps to dilute some of that booziness in the alcohol. It aerates it, it chills it really fast, and it just helps to bring all of the elements together. I'm going to grab a chilled coupe. You can also use a chilled martini glass, or really any glass of your choice. And now you're going to express the peel of the grapefruit over the top. You can also run it along the rim of the glass, just leaves a little grapefruit essence on the glass. Double strain this into the coupe. And then you're going to add a little sprig of fresh basil, and you have yourself a perfectly balanced, beautiful summer cocktail, perfect for a long week in the garden. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and follow for more garden tips.